Thursday, May 15th. Welcome back to Damon Bruce Plus. Welcome back to Sam Batesha Thinking Out Loud. And welcome back to football season. The final piece of the puzzle. Sammy, we get it. We know the path. Everybody's path to trying to be what they want to be. It's all laid out in front of them. Can you stay healthy? Oh. How fair is it? We're going to get into all of it. But on first sight, I really like the 49ers schedule. On second sight, I absolutely love the 49ers schedule. Oh, my God.
There's nothing to not like. And we've been teasing this. I mean, forget about the fact that the league puts out May 14th and we all get a little excited knowing it's going to happen. But the fact that you and I and our friend Warren Sharp is the one who really teed us up to this, to the idea that the Niners, from a strength of schedule standpoint, before May 14th, we knew Niners are going to have the easiest schedule, the best looking schedule. And of course, the only thing that Wednesday night could have done is throw that off by maybe having less rest per se, or back-to-back travel, that seemed too ridiculous. Nothing took them off of that point as being the easiest. And I also want to point one other thing out, Damon, real quick, and I know we're going to dive heavy into this. Not only is this easiest based on 2024 results of opponents, this is also easiest, and for those that don't know it, just type in strength of schedule Warren Sharp. This is also easiest based on 2025 projected win totals for opponents. So this takes into account draft and off-season.
Right. It's the best looking schedule coming into it based on last year's results, and it's the best looking schedule when you even factor in the offseason and all of your Vegas prognostications as to who's about to do what. The 49ers are looking good no matter how you look at it. They're looking good on body clock games. They're looking good, Sammy, because they are no passport needed to watch your San Francisco 49ers in 2025. It would have been fun to go on an international trip, but it's never good for the overall how a season plays out. So
nobody
the
needs
Niners
that.
Don't have to worry about that. There is not only is there no extreme rest disadvantage, there is an actual rest surplus. And then, of course, you got a last place schedule. There are no easy NFL games, but there are games that are harder than others. And this is full of those leaning to the easier side of football games. You're dealing with a first-year coach, a first-year quarterback, new faces and new places. Not a lot of pedigree when you look around it. I'm telling you, 8 of the 49ers' final 10 opponents are coming off a road game. The Thursday night game at SoFi gives the Niners plenty of time to make an East Coast trip out to Tampa. Following a season of minus 22 rest differential, they've got plus 9. They will be 9 days more rested than their opponents, and they face zero opponents coming off of a bye week.
It doesn't even make sense. It does not even make sense. And the only negative is you're starting with 2 on the road. The only negative is that you're not playing your home game until week 3, which, by the way, I kind of love because it gets early road out of the way. It's sort of like now you're not going to deal with that late with having this sort of travel conundrum late in the season. Instead, you're getting it right out of the way.
Yeah.
I love that. And did you mention the bye week? Did you mention the bye week yet?
It's in 14, which is a little late, but you know what? For an older team, I don't mind it.
Forget about an older team. How about a team going to the playoffs? Which we all expect looking at this schedule. A team going to the playoffs, that late bye week, if you're not the 1 seed, which they very well may not be, this is a glorious thing. This is setting you up for 2 crucial games. Either you've got things locked up in the division and you're resting again, awesome. Or you need that positioning. These games are going to matter. You're going to rest late. Imagine if Saquon could have rested week 14. He may have broken Eric Dickerson's record. Yeah. Imagine that. So it just exactly. So I love the late bye also.
I'm going to just say this. There's only one thing I don't like about it, and it's not that you're starting with 2 on the road. It's that you start with a division opponent. I don't think any NFL team should open with a division opponent. You should get your sea legs underneath you before you get pushed out into the water. Okay. So, that's it. But that's a small complaint. And that's it. 2 of their first 3 are against the division opponent. So a good start. And I see a 4-0 start. I do. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it right now.
I heard that yesterday. And I think a lot of people are saying like the Seattle thing is, like that could spell an issue potentially. We just don't know enough about Seattle. I like 3-1, 4-0. I'll say 3-0, 4-0. I don't. It doesn't need to be 4-0, but 3-1 and 4-0 seems almost impossible not to be.
If every time I predict 4-0, I get a 3-1, I'm still going to the playoffs.
So it's again. Remember, you and I spent a lot of time with the early Gruden with his first stint with the Raiders. That's when I first heard about. We look at the season in 4 quarters, back when there were 16 games, and you're taking each 4-game chunk, and so 3-1. If you do that 4 times, guess what? You're looking like a division winner.
I love the 49ers schedule. They got to be loving it too. And what is amazing, Sam, you and I are in the bitching about sports business and have been in for about 2 decades, 3 decades. You and I put together, we've been dealing with people who talk about sports in some fashion, way, shape, or form in our lives. What is amazing to me, because I can predict a news cycle, I can predict a reaction cycle. I am stunned that there isn't a voluminous anger at how easy this might be for the 49ers just based on the schedule. I mean, it's so cushy that I'm surprised it's not a topic on other shows, because the 49ers do not fly under the radar. The 49ers, are a crown jewel of this league, and 1 6-10 season seems to have them on, page 3. If you're selling me right now an under the radar 49ers season, that's another great part of the schedule.
Again, I watched all of I watched every second of what NFL Network did yesterday. And by the way, great job by Maurice Jones-Drew, Michael Robinson, Rich Eisen. I thought they handled it very well. They threw everything at us. The only thing I'll say is, I wish that NFL Network on this night simply did this. Every team's schedule, just go through and give me win and loss. Show me every team's schedule, because there's a lot of breaking it up into, hey, these are the primetime games and these are the international games. And I just think we're beyond that at this point. I think what fans want is just give me every team's schedule. Just show me what everybody's got. Show me what you kind of see as a path. And that's really all I need. So but they did an amazing job, and I was stunned, Damon. I was stunned at this. Guess what? Nothing about the Niners, nothing about the idea that the Niners had the easiest schedule. In fact, the only mention of the Niners might have been, hey, by the way, there's 4 teams that start with 2 games on the road, and the Niners were in that list. The Niners were not discussed, and I was absolutely blown away, because if you show up as easiest, if you're a team that's been in the Super Bowl over the last 5 years and you show up with the easiest schedule, I'm sorry, that's a conversation. That's a conversation. Now, I do want to point out one thing, Damon. Let's go through this, because I want people to understand what last place, first place schedule means. Okay, throw up the Niners schedule again. So what you've got is every team. You have to understand, last place, first place. This doesn't mean that through 17 games you're sort of playing a lesser opponent. There's only 3 games on the schedule this applies to. Okay. So in other words, you're playing your divisional opponents. That's 6 games for everybody, right? You're playing another NFC division. That's 4 games. You're playing another AFC division. That's another 4 games. You've got 14 games that are even with anyone who's in your division, essentially. All right.
Right.
The last place, first place applies to this. You play the other 2 NFC conferences, the other 2 NFC divisions. In other words, the one you're not matched up with. So in this case, NFC South. So now you're talking about NFC East and NFC North. You're talking about last place from those, and then you've got 1 alternate rotating AFC division, and you've got last place there. So what this comes down to is, if you're looking at what the last place, the linchpin in this, the difference here between Rams and Niners schedules comes down to very simply this. The Browns game could have otherwise been a Ravens game.
Right.
The Bears game could have otherwise been a Lions game. And the Giants game otherwise could have been an Eagles game.
Yeah.
So it's those 3 that you got to look at. Those are the 3 that take this from being, wow, had the Niners come off of a great season, that's what they could have been looking at. And instead, they're looking at Giants and Bears, that and Browns. That is the gift that the last place finish gives you, but it's only 3 games. Remember that this is not applying to every game. This is just, it's those 3 that it's going to apply to. So just remember that.
Big difference. I mean, when you're thinking
it is.
The 49ers are chasing the Rams or vice versa. It feels like that's the way the division's going to play out. Maybe Seattle has something to say. Arizona, You're adorable. Um,
I so agree with that,
but,
by the way.
they are better. I mean, they are better, but it's Arizona. So we will continue to dismiss them until they give us a reason to not.
I'm so with you on that. And I also just want to say one other thing about this schedule. The only thing that I like about a difficult schedule versus an easy schedule, and this is coming from a place where, yes, I'm an Eagles fan. My dad's from Philly. I grew up with this. Last season, I thought the Eagles had a brutal schedule. The Eagles had a stretch where they were playing the Ravens and the Steelers. It was an unbelievable. I mean, just because they had that division, it was going to be difficult. But the Eagles had to play the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers. There were these barometer games. They had the Washington game was thrown in there as well. There was a barometer. There was a stretch of games there. But what it did, it proved to us what the Eagles were. In other words, that then set the bar for, this team could do anything.
Well, I'm just going to drop the Jim Harbaugh on you. Iron sharpens iron.
That's it.
There
so
you go,
that
right
was
there.
so that was the nice part of having it. You sort of knew heading into the playoffs, oh wow, this team is capable of something that we weren't necessarily sure of before seeing them into those games, kind of, dominating in a way opponents that we thought would otherwise be this incredible struggle.
Absolutely. It's a proving ground. It's a proving ground. It's a testing ground. And as long as you don't get hurt in that proving ground, go through it successfully. Yeah. Everyone's shoulders go back a little bit. Chin goes up a little bit.
Yes.
And start beating their chest a little bit. And it's just, the confidence starts rolling downhill like a snowball. And now you got Scooby and Shaggy, and now you're going to hit the entire ski lodge. There's ski poles and ski boots coming out of the snowball. It's going down to the parking lot. These indeed are good times. Boys and girls, let me tell you, I don't know what you're doing for lunch today. We're getting closer and closer to lunch hour here on the West Coast. And if you are on the West Coast, chances are you can get Ike delivered to you. There is an Ike's around you with over 125 locations, expanding ever eastward and up and down. Let me tell you, he's got a new one out there right now. It's called the Kelsey Plum. She is a WNBA player. She went in, she designed this sandwich with Ike, and it is it's a good fried.
Look at that.
Fried chicken, barbecue sauce, honey mustard, purple slaw, French dressing, cheddar cheese. And if you want it Kelsey's way, that means you get a full portion of pastrami on that. Sam, I don't have to ask you. When in doubt, do you or do you not add pastrami?
You roll pastrami on a sandwich like this. Now, the only caveat is understand that when you go with pastrami, you're gonna feel that pastrami. You're gonna taste and experience that pastrami in a glorious way. Yes. So just know what you're doing, but it is the right move. It is the right call. What a beautiful looking sandwich.
We don't want any subtle pastrami.
That is so fantastic.
Blending into the wallpaper pastrami. No, you want it standing out.
You do.
And outstanding, hold on real quick. Outstanding that the Dubliner is going to be sponsoring the Blues for the rest of the year. They're coming in. They said, Damon, we want to take this through the next Super Bowl. I love those guys. Go to the Dubliner West portal. Tell them the Blues sent you. They love hearing that. It's the best poured Guinness in San Francisco. Kenny and John got you at Dubliner West portal. Get there. And again, I'm helping my neighbor who's got an incredible thing. If you are out this summer in the state of California thinking about a camping trip, look for this app. That app right there is the Campsite Tonight app. I want you to check it out. Campsitetonight.app. It's like hotel.com, but for campsites. There's nothing worse than putting your family in a car, driving 6 hours to find out no campsite for you at the park you went to. This gets that done for you. Campsitetonight.app. I love that this is my buddy's passion project, and we want to help support him. So please download it, whether you plan on using it or not. He's just wanting this thing downloaded on a lot of phones. Download it. Check it out. I bet you if you're a camper of any ilk at all, you will use it in the state of California, and it's going to expand everywhere like Hamantash.
Like Hamantash. That does Hamantash. I mean, and Damon, I saw someone early was jumping on that today, knowing that this was Hamantash Thursday, by the way. And thank you so much for being in the comments the way that you are.
It's always Sporticus, by the way. Sporticus. Happy Hamantash Thursday, everybody.
It's so great. Stetas Hamantash. If you don't know what it is, it's a glorious cookie with shortbread and a beautiful fruit filling there. That's just, I mean, like those shortbread cookies from Pepperidge Farm. She does her own version. Stetas Kitchen, Stetas Hamantash. You got to know, you got to get your hands on that, and you are going to love this cookie. Steta, my Aunt Marlene, congrats to her, and thank her for being a huge part of this.
Get it done, folks. Get it done. Support us. Thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe. Thumbs up on both channels. Go give Sammy a thumbs up over on Thinking Out Loud with Sam and Siciliano. Give me a thumbs up here on the Plus. Memberships available. Merch is available. All the good stuff. Thank you for being here once again. We totally appreciate it. There's only one element of this 49er schedule that might actually rub 49er fans the wrong way. This is not the best schedule based on bye week alone for you to pick up a 49er on your fantasy football team, because most fantasy football playoffs start week 14. And that's when the Niners got their bye week. So
it's rough. Okay.
You know, that's going to be a little rough on those of you who are fantasy inclined. And I know many of you are. I saw Warren Sharp said week 14 bye weeks hit hard in fantasy football. The 49ers, Patriots, Panthers, and Giants will all be out, meaning that's no McCaffrey, no Kittle, no Ayuk, no Purdy, no Stevenson, no Drake May, no Malik Neighbors, right when the fantasy playoffs start. But again, that is pretend football. We cover real football.
Yes, we do. Now we get excited. I mean, there's plenty. Yes, of course. I mean, fantasy football is something you and I both are not a stranger to. And so I appreciate that. But I also want to say something about just schedule overall and what we do, the excitement that we have. And both you and I definitely have incredible excitement about this when it happens and when it comes out. I mean, look, we are fired up about this, but I want to say something about primetime games. Okay, this idea of primetime. And I used to say it about Kirk Cousins because, you know, we're following the statistics about whether somebody can win in primetime and, someone has more primetime games than another.
Right. Kirk Cousins had a terrible record in the evening.
Okay. What does primetime mean? Standalone is what. Okay, so let's just understand what the term means. All right, I want people to understand. Primetime seems to like everyone's like, ooh, the Chiefs have the most, and the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Commanders, they've got the second most. Okay, first of all,
but not all. Look at it this way: all primetime games are standalone games, but not all standalone games are primetime games.
Okay. Yes. Exactly.
Bourbon. All bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon.
Exactly. In other words, you've got your international games. Okay. Now, obviously, you know, that sort of Friday night on the opener. Exactly.
Yes.
Correct.
Black Friday is now an NFL date.
But I want to say this. Okay. First of all, the international games, those are earlier than anything else on a Sunday. Okay. So that's a standalone game. You can be like, ooh, exciting. My team's in that. But okay, that doesn't make it a more significant game. My overall point on this is
nice every breakfast on the West Coast. I love waking up to an international game, put the coffee on, get the pancakes going. The boys aren't out of bed yet. It's great.
Look, anytime it can feel like March Madness is opening weekend on an NFL Sunday, I'm all for it. And again, to get your NFL Sunday from 3 windows to 4 windows, I used to not like it. Now I love it. I absolutely love the international for that. I don't even consider it the international. I just consider it the early. It's just the early, much like we used to love Hawaii games on Saturdays, because that would mean then you got that late window of a game that you're interested in that's happening on Hawaii time. The early London, Dublin, etc., all that we're getting, Brazil that we're going to get this season. Thank you for that. I also have one thing to say about Thursday Night Football, and this is not going to rub a lot of people the right way. I don't think. I love what Amazon does, and I think Thursday Night Football has become an outstanding product. And the games overall, I think went from what was once, those games sort of felt like maybe they weren't the best of the season. Like, let's get a nice standalone game that isn't going to be a showcase on Sunday.
Right.
Kind
of would just blend into a Sunday schedule. So
right.
One place where you're guaranteed to, you got no choice. If you want to watch football, here it is.
Right. And now you can tell those games, there's a little more thought. And I'm sure it's because Amazon's saying, hey, what about us? And we got Al Michaels here. Like, let's make it special. And it certainly feels like that more often than not. But my hot take is this. I loved the sanctity and the sacred nature of football on Sunday. And I enjoyed that you sort of had this one, like, let's chase our bets. Let's lick our wounds on Monday Night Football. Let's have that one day.
Yes.
Thursday is it is sort of such an assault on anything else that you want to do with yourself during football season. It just becomes it's like this assignment that is early every week. And maybe my brain started from a fantasy football standpoint where there was the first couple of years that it was happening. You're like, oh fuck, I forgot Thursday. Like I got somebody on my bench that I shouldn't.
Wednesday night, because
right.
I forgot about it on Thursday morning, and
right.
It does. The week jumps on you.
It's a lot. I used to enjoy the idea that on Monday after that game, you knew, okay, exhale, I'm into, I got my Sunday's going to have everything. I got that one carryover on Monday. More football's a good thing. Don't get me wrong here. More football's a good thing for all of us, but Thursday it's just like the heart beats that much faster throughout the season. Every week now outside of week one, you've got Thursday. And so it's a lot. It is a lot. And when I look at when the schedule comes out and I'm looking at everything and then all the Thursday games, it just feels like, wow, am I even prepared for this? And I just I like Saturday so much more. So much.
The other thing that I don't, here's the thing though, but Saturday is college football.
You're right. You can't touch that.
Football on every night of the week except for what? Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We got games on Thursday now.
No, this year it's only Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday, Wednesday are the only days that don't have football this year.
Look, we're addicted to it as a country. The ratings are undeniable. There is no sport that encroaches on the land that now football dominates.
Yes.
The thing that I don't like is that the NFL is going to be going directly up against a college football playoff Saturday where you're going to have 3 college football playoff games. Like the NFL has just decided they're leaving nothing for anyone.
There's nothing.
They're not interested in the you get the crumbs business.
There's nothing.
They want to, when you're at a nice restaurant, when the waiter comes over with the little table shaver and the crummer. I believe it's actually called
the crummer. The crummer.
And that's what the NFL has done. The NFL doesn't even leave the crumbs for anyone to enjoy. They've taken it all. And in the name of every week has to beat last year's week, they have taken this scheduling to a point where they're just a little bit too manipulative. And
I agree.
I don't understand this obsession with making sure that this week one outrates last year's week one. I don't care about that. I don't know why the NFL is so obsessed with that. To me, I think opening the season with marquee games doesn't make any sense because you could have made it Chiefs Panthers.
Yes.
No, here we go. It's the Eagles.
The
Eagles is the defending Super Bowl champions could be opening against the Tennessee Titans. That first Thursday night game, every single football fan will be there watching it. It didn't have to be the Cowboys. You're blowing your Eagles-Cowboys load too fast.
Too fast.
Put that later in the year. We were going to be there, all of us, week one, if it were Eagles against freaking, Valdosta State.
Okay, but guess what? Here's what happened. Now, I heard this explanation, and I enjoyed the explanation. I heard this last night on NFL Network, that this Cowboys idea, and I want to bring something up about, this is going to be a point about the Niners and the Eagles here, and Cowboys and Rams for that matter, but the idea was that in the past 2 seasons, you missed out on the marquee nature of what Eagles and Cowboys was going to be. Based on injuries and a few other factors, the league was waiting so long to give you Eagles-Cowboys that you actually lost some luster. So when it became an option for this season to give Eagles-Cowboys on week one, they decided, you know what, we're going to move it up, and we're not only going to move it up, we're going to put it in the most prime place, which is in that. Yes,
Dak's got to go, and they've lost 6 in a row, and blah blah blah.
Okay, so a couple of things. This is okay. I really want to look at Eagles-Cowboys because it applies to a lot of teams here. You talked about the Seahawks, the division opponent. Tough to start with that, right? And you're right. It's such an important game. Having it week one, in a way, it's like, okay, you have no chance to find out what your team is. This is gonna put you potentially 2 games back in the division if you lose it. These are swing games that matter so much. I say before, and not only before, but during every Eagles season. Now, this is the first time in 25 years that Eagles and Cowboys have been a week 1 matchup. This is only going to be the 4th time ever the Eagles-Cowboys open up for week 1.
Right.
So every season, my family in Philly starts texting about how excited they are about how the Eagles season is going. And a couple of seasons, we're getting to week 9, week 10, where they haven't played the Cowboys. And I always say this, I am pumping the brakes and holding back my true opinion of this Eagles team for this season until the barometer of the first Cowboys game. And this season it'll be interesting because it's happening week 1. So you're going to know a lot more than you would on a traditional week 1 because now you're up against what tends to be the barometer in your division. Same goes for the Niners and the Rams. That is where those two teams judge each other based on that game, because your first hurdle, every coach will tell you, is winning the division, right? Our path to wherever we want to go is within this division. So you've got to know who you're up against, and there's no doubt that McVay and Shanahan have that hard on for one another like nobody else. And you are judging yourself on that. And of course, Eagles-Cowboys has been that sort of Dak-Jalen conversation, which right now seems out of whack. But very quickly, you recognize him. By the way, Dak's got a 9-4 record against the Eagles. Now, he's not healthy for a lot of those games. There's a lot of missed games in there. But Dak plays very well against the Eagles when he's healthy. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people have that, written as the dub on the Eagles' schedule to start. But judge your team based on what they're doing about what you consider the number 1 opponent. The Patriots think they're going to have a good season. Guess what? Until they play the Bills, nothing matters.
Right.
You got to be aware of that when you're looking at these schedules. Those division games and whoever you consider that team to beat in the division, go do that first before you think you know what your team's up to.
I also, when it's, you got 2 games against your division big dog,
yes.
I want some weeks to really separate that.
Yes.
I hate when you got like Rams, you play another game, then you're at the Rams. I want it separated by about a month. Give me 2 different flavors of the same battle. And I think you get that over time because obviously it's a marathon. And the team you are in week 5 and the team you are in week 10 can be 2 totally different football teams. It's so volatile and guys are in and out. And we all know. Look, and someone's like, yeah, I saw earlier in the chat, they're like, oh, that bye week is way too late. No. If anyone gets hurt in week 14. Well, yeah, I guess that is a way to look at it. But there's the other half of that glass, which means, God, what if nobody got hurt until a little bit later?
Right.
What if your most important player got hurt after your bye week? Then you're just kind of screwed there. So, I don't think you can ever look at a football's schedule or a bye week and really be like, well, what if they get hurt? Everybody gets hurt. Like you just can't you can't even factor it in. Now, obviously, who's out there in any given game is going to predict how this game's going to go, but injuries are such an ever-present thing to worry about them. It's just something why worry about the morning sun? It's coming.
Right.
Injuries are coming. It's going to happen. Hopefully it isn't so overwhelming it derails your season. It was a big part of why the 49ers again went 6-11 last year. I mean, I'm just looking at the schedule, Sammy. I do see 10 wins.
Let's put it up. Let's put it up and do that. I want to count them off. Here's why I want to do it, because it's a follow-up to what we discussed last week, Damon. We looked at you were concerned with the fact that you said Colin Cowherd decided the Niners were not a playoff team, right? He was already sort of on board with that idea. And I said,
like, look, you can say that is a young defensive line. They didn't really improve their offensive line, but here's what they do have going for them. Robert Saleh's back in the room. They will have something other than the worst special teams in all of football. There's nowhere to go but up in that category.
Yes.
You have first, like official, it's year 3 for Brock Purdy as the guy with the job. You have, I think, Shanahan hopefully reinvigorated as a coach, knowing that, the league's onto him a little bit, so he needs to evolve a little bit. I hope you have all of that. You have this schedule. And to me, there's no reason to be down on the 49ers.
None.
Other than you just want to be like, I want to be the first to say that they were bad. And then if they are, I can tell everyone I was right.
It's garbage. I really I don't think you can look at this schedule. And I said it. I said if Colin does what he likes to do this with a lot of significant teams, he'll just put the schedule up and he'll do this. He'll go through this also. He'll give you the win loss, and run through it. And I said when Colin does this, he's going to have a hard time not getting to 8 wins very quick. And once you get to 8 and you're not done with the schedule, you're starting to talk about a playoff team. That's the bottom line. With 17 games, if you've got 9 wins, you are likely in the playoffs. You're in contention in week 18. Yeah. And I just don't know that there's a way to look at this schedule without giving the Niners 9 wins ahead of their final week.
Let me just here's the deal. So let's just say 4-0 start. Now you said, Damon, that's too rosy. I don't like it. Go ahead and argue with me if you want. 4-0 start, first loss of the year is that Thursday nighter against the Rams. Second loss of the year is the cross-country tip to Tampa Bay. They will lose both those games, so now you're 4-2. Come home, beat the Falcons on Monday Night Football. You're 5-2. Go to Houston. Guess what? I think they win that game. They're 6-2, but you want to call it a loss? Fine, I'll give it to you. That's all I'm
there
asking. 6-3. Giants win. Home to the Rams. You got to win that one. They will split with the Cardinals. So let's chalk that up to a loss against the Phoenix Cardinals. You're beating the Panthers. I'll even give you a loss against the Cleveland Browns. You got to buy.
There you go.
And then I think you finish 4-0. I think you start 4-0 and you finish 4-0 with a little bit of traffic in the middle. Either way, we're at bare minimum 8 wins. And again, I see. I can't find 7 losses sight unseen. I can't.
No, here's the problem. Go ahead and give them a split in the division. Give them 3-3 in the division. I mean, even if you, again, lose to the Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the Rams one time. That's okay. Go ahead and split it up. And again, that means, okay, so if you're giving them 4-0 to start, fine. Maybe the Seattle game later is a loss. But if you go through it, I think you're right. If you say September 7th, Seattle's a win. The Saints right now don't have a quarterback. Unless Shuck is ready. I mean, that's looking really interesting, right? I mean, the Carr thing is just, that's too much for Kellen Moore to be overcoming early in the season. I just think there's a lot of uncertainty there with the Saints. So look, the 2-3, you said it. 4, I'm even going to say, you know what? Give it 4-0 as long as you come back and recognize that you need a Seahawks loss later. Okay, so give it the 4-0. Like you said, give the Rams that a loss. You're 4-1. Bucks, you said again, 4-2. Falcons, 5-2. Texans, you said even potentially give it a loss. Okay, 5-3. Giants, 6-3. I'm splitting with the Rams, so that's now 7-3. Give that Cardinals a loss, 7-4. Panthers, 8-4. Browns, you said even give it a loss, 8-5. Okay, Titans, 9-5. Then you've got 10-5 Colts, 11-5 Bears, and because we said a win and loss with the Seahawks, you're looking at 11-6. That's loose. That's giving away a couple of games, and saying 11-6. And by the way, they could be better in the division. We're giving them 3-3 in the division, and it could go better than that.
Do you just want to take all the cocaine into the bathroom and do it off the back of the toilet? Because 15-2 is on this schedule. 15-2 is there. If Brock Purdy has his shit together, if this defense stops the run, if somebody catches a pass and Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, the 49ers how about this? The 49ers just being an average team.
Yes.
Are a playoff team in this schedule. If the Niners are an above average team with this schedule, they could win their division. And if the 49ers have a great year against this schedule, they could be a 1 seed. Again, I understand we just did all the coke in the bathroom.
We did. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I get it. But
that's sort of, and this is, by the way, this is also what this day is about. This is why NFL Network announced a date for this, because that's how excited everybody gets about this. We are allowed to go into the bathroom and do exactly this and tell your friend where it's at, because you can look at this and everyone can wrap their head around win-loss, period. But you said it. There's just there's other than getting in their own way, it feels like this is going to happen for the Niners, and it's just set up based on the idea that last year was, I don't want to call it an anomaly. It certainly happened, but the silver lining is, like I said, the Browns game, the Giants game, and the Bears game could have otherwise been Lions, Ravens, and Eagles. Right. So it's just a gift. That's a gift. And with Lions, Ravens, and Eagles, you cannot do better than 1-2.
If you're being honest and just realistic. You're not beating the Eagles until you beat the Eagles. I'll give them that much credit. And the Lions, again, that's an ascending team, but Dan Campbell did lose an awful lot of the genius that helped him assemble that team. And then the Ravens are the biggest gonna punch you in the mouth football team on the 49ers schedule whenever they're on there. They really are. The Ravens turn into the 85 Bears whenever they see the 49ers on the schedule.
And that happened. Look, Brock Purdy, the one team he doesn't want to see ever again is the Ravens on Christmas. I mean, that's just something he does not want to have to do again. It did not go well the first time that he had to run through that. And that's okay. Yeah. I mean, that's the game that if the Niners end up not putting $50 million in front of Brock Purdy, it's largely on what happened in that game. That was a rough one.
Last couple of thoughts on the schedule, because there are a couple of other things that we got to get to here.
Yes.
Chiefs fatigue will be real this year. It is guaranteed to happen. We'll be happy to see them week 1 in Brazil against the Clippers, but then, excuse me,
I love
Chargers.
That. I love that. No, that's so good. That's such a proper analogy.
Is that a sports Freudian slip?
That was such a perfect Freudian slip, though. I mean, it is brilliant.
The Chiefs are the first team in NFL history to get 5 primetime games in the first 8 weeks of the year. So in the first half of the season, the Chiefs are going to be pounded down our throat like a musket gets its bullet pounded down its muzzle. We got, again, Chiefs, Chargers, Brazil. It's week 1. It's a Friday. Again, everyone go into the bathroom. It's on the back of the toilet. You're going to be happy to see, you know what I mean? It's everyone.
Yes.
Then New York Giants Sunday Night Football. That game is going to be turned off at halftime. It's going to be terrible. At Jacksonville Monday Night Football. You might be turning that thing off at halftime. Detroit Sunday Night Football.
It's a nice one.
Okay, there you go. Washington Week 8 Monday Night Football. Ooh, okay. Well, that's pretty good. And then they're also playing on Thanksgiving and on Christmas.
Let's look at this. I don't mind when okay. I said this last season. This is Rams. I just wanted to quickly. This was the Rams schedule. Save it for a moment. I'm going to make this point about the Chiefs, and then I do want to come back and look at the Rams schedule. Okay, and then so the Chiefs. I said it last season. I was rooting for 17-0 for the Chiefs, and it's because I don't waste time on the Chiefs losing to any team other than the one that I am diehard for. So that meant if the Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl, which of course they did, I wanted the Eagles to knock off a perfect team. And if the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, I'd rather them be known in our lifetime as the greatest team we ever saw, hands down, no argument, period, end it. And Mahomes did it. He got 3 in a row, including this perfect run that even Tom Brady could not complete. That's what I root for. I want greatness to be on that level. How exciting. The Eagles winning the Super Bowl 40-22 was not exciting to the world because they won just 40-22. It's because of who was on the other side. Right. The opponent being at that level. And of course, had they been undefeated, it would even be at that next level. So here's what I don't fatigue on. I don't fatigue on the Chiefs winning. If the Chiefs end up being mediocre, then yes, I'm going to have fatigue. If the Chiefs are still the best team in the AFC and up for best team in the NFL, which likely they will be if Reed and Mahomes are there.
Right. If you're telling me you get a pinball machine every single time they're on television, well, okay, I'll take the
Okay, I get it, but I'm even okay with, look, you have to admit that the Broncos-Chiefs game, the first one from last season, I don't know that any of us were play for play on that game. It wasn't a standalone, and all of a sudden you realized at the end of the game, oh, the Broncos could win this game. They're up, and then, of course, they're lining up for the field goal to win it, and yes, it gets blocked. Right. But that's exciting. The world now is interested that the Chiefs could lose a game, and that's why having the Chiefs in that place is still, and even though the Eagles won the Super Bowl, nobody's thinking about the Eagles, and no one's going to bed having nightmares other than maybe the Giants having nightmares about the Eagles. It's still the Chiefs. You come into a new season and it's still, wow, the Chiefs. So they're going to benefit from the reps. There's all of that people are still thinking about. And of course, and Mahomes is, look, our friend Aaron Larsoul calls him the boogeyman. Like, he just does things, right? Mahomes just does things that you don't see other quarterbacks doing at the end of these games. And that makes it exciting. I also thought the fact that they were playing in 1-score games and winning them last season, that's more interesting. Sure, I'm okay.
In any football game I'm watching that I have no rooting interest in, make it a tight game. Yeah.
Yes, of course. But and if you and I can agree that Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, which I don't think Right? We're not getting off of that, are we?
About that, that's for sure.
Okay. You're going to give me the best quarterback 7 times, on quote unquote primetime, fine. But also, you and I are sophisticated enough fans, and most people out there are. Every NFL game, as far as I'm concerned, is a primetime game. You're playing in the number 1 league in the world. You're playing at the worst, what you've got 6 other games simultaneously happening at the time that you are, and every single game feels like a March Madness NCAA tournament game because there's only 17 of them.
Panthers Titans will get a better rating than Game 1 of the World Series, and
it matters, and it'll matter this year even more because of the fact that none of us have seen what Cam Ward's going to do through a rookie season. So this league is full of these. All of these games are crucial. They all matter. What, you think a quarterback's going out there and saying, tonight we're on Monday Night Football? As if the game that he played Sunday at 1 Eastern time wasn't going to matter for his career. What, is nobody filming that?
The players will say all the nice things to frickin' Aaron Andrews, and they're saying, yeah, Sunday Night Football just means...
Oh, it's so great. What, is no one filming the games on Sunday at 1 o'clock? Are these games just not televised? And are we not keeping track of statistics in those games? Like, what the hell are we talking about? It's the NFL. Every single fucking game matters.
More excited or less excited if the win or loss comes when the sun is down?
Again, I just don't stand by that. And we all get excited to look at it on paper, but it doesn't matter. Your team winning a game whenever they play it is all you're concerned about.
Yeah. Sammy, we break for supers. I missed these earlier. LD Studios dropping $2 in the ganja jar saying, take a swig, Dame. We're heading to the playoffs. Well, here's the thing. We can go sip of the day.
Love that. Love it. I just took it. I'm going to finish up. Yep.
Hold on. Or we could just completely go right into not screwing around mode, pull this cork off a bottle of whiskey and do it. We could do that.
Damon, when you said we should all head to the bathroom for that, and finish it off, I do need to get the bottle of whiskey now incorporated in Thursdays. I've got the copy with you, but I think I now need to get that. It would be nice to take a sip with you. I want to do one thing quickly before we move on.
LD is very excited. And then on the other side of the coin, as always, is Mr. Joseph Ehrenberg. We get swept by the division, 5-12. Love you guys. I tell you, you truly are the most sky is falling at all-time 49er fan. This is the guy who would have absolutely told you Joe Montana is going to lose this Super Bowl. I know it. That's who Joseph is. His commitment to the bit is extraordinary.
Emotionally hedging is important in life, and I do a lot of that. I got a ton of Cowboy friends who text me, and I always say congrats on sweeping the Eagles, early in the season, just to get that out of the way and sort of prepare for if that happens. But it is nice to set your bar really low. But I challenge Ehrenberg to give you and I the schedule with only 5 wins on it. I just want to see that. Do you understand the teams the Niners are going to have to lose to get to 12 losses?
Get me the 12 losses.
Just give them me
12 losses.
You're losing to the Giants. You're losing to the Panthers. You're losing to the Browns. These are the games you have to lose to get to 12 losses.
Right.
So whatever you think, I just think it's going to be more difficult if you do it mathematically and if you do it according to what the schedule has given you. Now, put the Rams schedule up also, because this is the barometer. It's the first thing on what we had there. You had it up earlier. I'm sorry. It's not, but we can see it. We can see it a little bit.
We got technology.
But we said 11-6, and it was very easy for us to get to 11-6 for the Niners. So I just want to do the same thing with the Rams realistically, because that's what we said is the barometer. I'll give the Rams 4-2 in the division. So I'm not even going to call out the division games here as we go out. I'm just going to say, just put 4-2 aside. We'll skip the division games as we go through it, right? Okay. We just know that we're going to add a 4-2, right? I think that's fair to say your division winner from the year before is going to have a winning record within in the division, but trip up on 2 division opponents. I don't even care who they are. My guess at the moment would be to say that they could be swept by the Niners. They will split with the Niners most likely, and they'll trip up. And they'll trip up on one of the games against the Cardinals or Seahawks, right? No big deal. I think that's just fair to look at. So I'm hosting Houston to start the season. Give them the win. Give them the win. It's at home. Fine. Okay? So you're 5-2. All right? Then you've got the at Tennessee. Now, yeah, it's a road game, but Cam Ward's second start. You want to give them the win? 6-2.
Now you're 6-3.
6-3 Eagles, because they just have not shown us that they can beat that team. So I don't care how close they were in the divisional round. Remember what happened in the regular season game in Los Angeles with Saquon setting the record. So forget it. 6-3. Versus the Colts, give them 7-3. Baltimore, I'm sorry, we're giving that a loss. You're 7-4. Jacksonville, give it 8-4. You want to give New Orleans? You want to give it 9-4?
That's a home game. Yeah, 9-4.
Okay, 9-4. I see Tampa as a loss.
Okay.
Tampa wins surprising games. I'm giving that a loss.
Baker Mayfield revenge game,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You're right. You're right. His long stint with the Rams, an incredible game-winning drive against the Raiders. So you're at 9-5 if my math is correct at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're 9-5. Carolina 10-5.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit 10-6.
Okay.
And Atlanta at 11-6. So there you go for what this season could be for the Rams and Niners. We very easily had 11-6 for each. To me, that is what we're talking about. If you think this Niner season is going somewhere special, understand this is the team. This is what you have to compare it to. And again, the Rams have on their schedule Eagles, Lions, Ravens, where you otherwise have Browns, Giants, and Bears. That's nice. That's nice.
I mean, let's see what the Bears are by week 14.
Right.
And, Johnson's officially got his season underneath him, and we're in year 2 of Caleb. And let's see what happens.
And Damon, one other thing, I know we're going to move on to something. I just want to remind
Bears do have the first ever win at Levi's Stadium. So they're very comfortable out here.
This is very true. Although was that terrible game with where Trey Lance got injured? Was that the one, or was that in Chicago?
That was Chicago. Yes.
Right. That was in Chicago. That disgusting game. That was an ugly, awful game, by the way. Okay. So let's say this about the Niners, another stat in their favor. Every season, four new teams that missed the playoffs the year before will make it the next season. At least 4.
Right.
Four. Find me a team more poised to do that than the 49ers. Give me a non-playoff team you're more confident about making it this season than the Niners, knowing that there will be 4. There doesn't have to be 1, but if there was 1, it would be San Francisco. Anyone in this chat right now, give us a team that looks more poised to make the playoffs after missing it for the 2024 season than these Niners. I'm sorry, but it is staring us in the face. Staring us.
Joseph coming in. The wins are only 2, 4, 12, 15, 16. All the rest are losses. Okay. Joseph, just remember, this is what you're paying me to say on the show. And when you're wrong about it, will you double down? I mean,
Please.
Like if you're paying $1.29 to be this wrong, what will you pay to be right? Or tell us that you got it all wrong. And when it comes to handicapping the chances of an actual NFL team, especially one you claim to root for, you are terrible at it.
I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. And look, you and I more often than not are pessimistic and trending towards realistic.
Yeah,
really. That's it. I mean, I would say, pessimistic or realistic. The fact that both of us are just on the same page saying this looks right. I'm sorry, but you have to. I just don't see a way that you can come into this season upset. I just don't see it. I don't.
Dude, I don't work for KNBR. I don't have to see her going like, "Oh, everything's great. Oh my God." No, something really sucks. Here you go. You want some realistic? The Golden State Warriors were never going to win another NBA championship. There you go. You want some honesty? There you fucking go. It's over, kids. We'll get to that a little bit later. One more thing, Sammy. And then I don't want to just be blah, 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 blah. We got Christopher who's saying, I'm going to pay $2 to publicly say Ernberg is an idiot. Thank you very much. I love that. I look at it this way. Any rivalry, any Hatfield McCoy that pays me $2 a punch, I'm all about it. Throw your punches, boys. Here's the one bet that I think I would fade if I were betting against the NFL scheduling, hopes. They've got the Commanders and Jaden Daniels with 8 standalone games, tying Kansas City for the most. The Commanders haven't had this much attention since Daniel Snyder gave everybody in his front office permission to pinch the asses of cheerleaders, and they had to go investigate that. Like this is the most amount of attention this franchise has received. And I do think that they will buckle under that a little. And Jaden Daniels, because progress is not a linear upwards climb, is going to be this year's CJ Stroud. I think he comes back down to earth. I think the Commanders come back down to earth a little bit. Not to the point where I would say if you wanted to bet on a team that was in the playoffs last year to miss the playoffs.
But you do have to find some. You do have to find some.
Of those too. There's always a few of those too. I would say the Commanders are candidates for that. Absolutely. Watch Jaden Daniels feel what an entire year of tape does to your NFL success.
Offensive rookie of the year, right? So this is just, there's nobody that's taken by surprise as to how prepared Jaden Daniels is week in and week out, or how cool he is on the sideline. The other thing you didn't mention, and I know there's a lot of hype behind these two words, but Dallas Cowboys. Remember that the Cowboys, right behind the Niners, were essentially the season flushed down the toilet due to factors a little bit out of our control. The Cowboys, with Dak being injured, are just an entirely different team. I'm sorry, whatever you think of Dak, whatever you've seen, and obviously Dak played awful against the Niners a couple of times. We understand that. But Dak is putting his team in position to win more games than he is not. That is just the, for whatever you think of him, that is the frank reality of what Dak Prescott does for the Cowboys. If he is healthy, to your Jaden Daniels point, this is an entirely different division. This division is not about only the Eagles and the Commanders. I'm not ready to say the Giants. We love the Giants draft. I'm not ready to say they're quite there to be challenging for this division yet. But go look at the odds in Vegas. The Cowboys are a real threat in this division, and it is not a two-horse race. I just want that to be said because the Cowboys will surprise you and win a couple of games you're not expecting. Now, of course, they also love to lose a couple of games that you're not expecting either, but the Cowboys will play a factor in this division.
Right. They're not dead on arrival. No way. They won't be. By the way, some of these scheduled release videos are officially dead on arrival. Some of them are officially clever. Everyone is chasing Tennessee Titans from 2023 with their on the street, can't identify which team this is video. The Atlanta Falcons changing their official Twitter handle to the Red Stallions is also one of the greatest responses to another team's schedule release that will ever happen. That's the zenith of schedule release. It's only downhill from there. You're not going to get better than Empire Strikes Back anywhere in the Star Wars universe.
There's never been a greater tip of the cap to what another team did than that.
Oh, totally.
To say what you gave us in social media is worth our own handle now. There will never be a greater bow to us for what we did. I will also say release videos, and this one I'm torn on. What the Buffalo Bills did with the bit about having AI release their schedule, and then they had Allen Iverson essentially give the schedule. I love what it was, but then as an Eagles fan, I hate that the Eagles social media department wasn't the one that gave us that. That's all. So major hat tip to the Bills. That was an awesome job.
The Chargers, once again, and they've done great anime things in the past. They did the Minecraft thing. All I can tell you is that Jack, even though he hasn't played Minecraft, he's too young for it. All of the kids at school talk about it. So he really likes Minecraft, even though he does not play Minecraft. I showed him that, and he loved it. The Colts had to pull theirs down. They didn't, I guess, get permission from Minecraft, number one. Number two, they did something insensitive to a Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill, I'll give him credit for this. He was like, you shouldn't have taken it down on my part. I thought it was funny.
Right.
I saw that on social media. So, the Colts are already in mid-season form by having to pull down their own schedule release. The 49ers went with like an Oregon Trail theme. Nobody dies of diphtheria in this version of the game. So, the Niners, again, a little too long, a little bit too much preamble, a little bit too much setup. Like, you got to get to it, man.
Sure.
My attention span is going to be like, man walks into warehouse, man walks into Cajun warehouse, man pulls off thing on warehouse. Let's go. We got 4 seconds to hook people. We have such short attention span.
Yes, very creative. And also the Eagles, I thought, was a little too. I like the humble approach, and this was not a humble approach. The Eagles essentially showed the Lombardi and then gave the schedule as credits at the end of a movie, like also starring these teams.
Okay.
So I like the humble approach. I don't love the we're on top. I like pretending it's a brand new season.
By the way, when Rob C-Note comes in with a fitty spot saying 49ers 20-1, and I'm donating for Sammy's Blackened. There you go. Sammy, he wants to send you the bottle of Blackened.
Please. Yes.
By the
I'm
way,
so in on that.
Metallica's whiskey. Metallica playing Enter Sandman at Lane Stadium. Have you seen that? Dude,
Oh.
you want to talk about bouncing? That place went nuts.
And by the way, I sent, if I didn't send it to you last week, I meant to because I knew we'd have an opinion about this. I was only going to say, so the Entering Sandman Vatek was incredible live, but I was going to ask you and those in the comments, what will Enter Sandman be to you from a sports perspective? Or frankly, you can go anywhere with it, but I mean, it will be Mariano for me. Right, it's got to be Mariano Rivera to me. I love what Virginia Tech did, the live rendition, of course, but it's burned in as Rivera to me. It's sort of it's sort of like it's like a retired number for me.
Right, it's like no one can come in to smoke on the water but Rob Nen. I will say this: the thing that I now remember most about Mariano Rivera's career is when Major League Baseball Network was announcing that he was a Hall of Famer, and somebody said, "Enter Sandman." It's like that is as burned into my brain as the Omar Vizquel Broadway is dark tonight. Like
that is glorious.
Do you remember that?
That is glorious.
That
is so good. That is so good, Damon. What a reference.
Okay. For any other Thursday show we have done together, Sammy, it might have been our lead story because this just shows you, God bless the wealthy. They can print their own money whenever they need it. And for now, it might not even be true at the end of this sentence because these things change so quickly. But for the day, the hour, the moment, the San Francisco 49ers are the most valuable sports franchise in the world. Because again, you don't know what you're worth until you actually sell it, or in their case, a bit of it. 49ers owner Jed York has agreed to sell 6% of the franchise to 3 Bay Area families at a valuation of $8.5 billion. That means the 49ers are going to raise over $500 million from a 6% sell-off, something that they will never notice. Will you ever notice that 6% of your peas are no longer in your peas on your table? You won't even notice it. They won't even feel it. These 3 Bay Area families get 0 voting rights. They might get a parking spot and maybe like a better charcuterie tray in their suite, but they just get to pretend they're 49er owners because they have bought in. And this is how the wealthy prints its own money. The $8.5 billion is the highest valuation for any pro sports team ever on the planet. The 49ers today are the most valuable football team, the most valuable team of any kind in the world. And I'm going to tell you right now that whatever the 49ers are worth, the Cowboys have to be at worth $2 billion more than that.
The most surprising part of this story is that I believe on this list are Eagles, Giants, was it the Commanders? Who else? The Niners now. I'm trying to think of the teams that have sold off these small percentages to get the reevaluation.
I think the New York Giants just did a little of that
right.
too.
The Giants did it, and the Eagles did it, and the Niners did it, and I think there's one other team that has done this. And I think it was, the Commanders obviously were actually sold, so we know that was a fairly new valuation on them. How has Jerry Jones not sold 1% of the Cowboys to somebody to simply re-up the number? I just feel like now we're in an arms race and Jerry's going to want that. And that will be the next one of these that we read, is to put the Cowboys at 10 billion, which by the way, that'll be an amazing number to see, but it will be 10 billion.
Well, here's the thing.
It will be 10 billion.
Not only do you get the Cowboys, the brand, the uniforms, you get the stadium, and then you get the Star, their practice facility, which is the size of a Division III college campus with as many buildings, if not more, than that college campus would have. Their practice arena is a 10,000 seat stadium.
It's so good. It's just so good. I mean, look, think about today's the PGA Championship. The Warriors season ended. I mean, look at this has been the easiest hour we've ever spent talking to one another is about games that aren't happening for 3 months in a league that had its Super Bowl 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I mean, this is hilarious that this league is at that level where people are already talking about how their team will finish the next season. That's where we're at. That's how ahead of the curve this is. And here's the best part. Remember what the schedule release is. I used to be so confused by the idea that there was hype behind the schedule release. Didn't we know the opponents? Didn't we know? We knew the road. You knew your team was playing and who they were playing.
And how it's, who's your back-to-backs, where's your bye week, all this. It does matter. Like, to me, the people who want to crap all over the NFL schedule release is insignificant, but just smell as many mock draft farts as they possibly can for, let's do hour-long breakdowns of guys who won't even get drafted in this league. And it's all instantly disposable. You get something on schedule release day that is not only not disposable, it's literally something you're going to keep in your pocket for the next 6 months.
Printable schedule is just, you have it. The magnet on the fridge, saved as a bookmark on your phone. It's it. You're already calling Ticketmaster to find out which game you can go to. Like, this league's just running laps around everybody else. Yeah. It's terrifying.
By the way, SF Indigo says, I drive 10 hours a week to live at poverty level. So I'm so happy for the Yorks. They really earned it. Hey, class warfare, great again. Look at it this way. You've never had you've never been in a house nicer than Jed York's gazebo. That's the way they live. And by the way, Sammy, when they were handing out career paths, you and I both chose radio when we were in college. Freaking morons, the both of us. We should have gone into tech. Vinod Kholsa, the co-founder of Sun Microsystems, who's worth $8.1 billion, is the guy who bought the biggest chunk of the 49ers here in the 6%. Brian Dieter is a partner at Bessemer Venture Capital Partners in San Francisco, and Will Griffin is the founding partner of Iconic with a Q,
sure,
Growth in Palo Alto, California. So this is venture capital, huge investments. So of course they have identified the NFL as a wonderful, can't go wrong investment. What will be the vehicle through which the NFL loses value? I haven't found it. I can't see it. The only thing I could possibly imagine would be a gambling story that so negatively reflected upon the league. But even then, I'm going to file that under short memories, and you'll all be back week 1 next year. There is nothing that football can do to offend us, to run us off, whether it be a domestic violent charged level of outrage, a racially charged level of outrage, whatever your level of outrage, whatever triggers your level of outrage, the NFL can't find enough of it that makes you say, I'm done. There is no being done with football.
Touchdowns for your fantasy league players, wins for your NFL franchise is just always going to trump what you actually feel in the world about it. And that's just that's who sports fans are at their core. And we hate to admit it. It's sort of a lowest common denominator way of thinking about the world, but we have this emotional stake in the outcome of a game for a particular team. We can't explain it. We've tried to do it with all of our wives. It is impossible to explain. There are wives who have to explain it to husbands as well.
Yeah.
There's a sickness. It really is. It's a sickness in your brain that tells you that serotonin levels are now changing based on the outcome of a game of men who don't know your name. I mean, that's just that.
Right.
It's just so obscene.
It is, but there's also a level of civic pride attached to it that I think is really good and healthy to have. There is the connection that, let's face it, there is a lot of fathers and sons and families who have trouble communicating around any subject but your shared interest in whatever franchise you have a shared interest in. There is a lot of sports obsession that is easy to identify as negative. We don't talk about some sports obsession and the positive that it really does in a lot of instances. There is way too much like a transference of success or failure from your team to you, and that is imaginary. That is only happening in your own brain. But look, if it makes you feel, again, I am all about whatever makes you feel better, whether that be an extra hour of sleep, your favorite TV show, religion, whatever you need to do to be the best version of you. God bless. Go find it and be happy.
And hopefully it's this. Hopefully it's Thursdays with Damon and Sammy. I want to say one other thing about the schedule before we move on. It's simply this. The saddest day on the calendar, if your team wins the Super Bowl, is opening day for the next season. Because here's what happens. You have this essentially, you have this mental masturbation that's happening for 6 months of you celebrating the last game your team won, the Super Bowl. And it ends when you have to play the Cowboys on that first Thursday of the season. It's over. You can win that game, and that's great, but you are no longer coming off of a 40-22 win against the back-to-back champion Chiefs at that moment. People get excited, call it banner night, all of that. It is the saddest day. It was the saddest day of the 2018 opener when the Eagles played the Falcons and raised the banner for what they did against Tom Brady in that Super Bowl with Nick Foles. And it will be the saddest for me. I hate to admit it, but that's it. Teams don't go back to back very often. We know they don't go back to back to back. Forget about the dynasties that you've watched. If your team wins a Super Bowl, consider that it may never happen again in your lifetime. And when that next season starts, it's on to the next thing.
It's just, what have you done for me lately?
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Speaking of that, I guess that brings us to the Golden State Warriors. The only shelter that the Warriors can duck out of to avoid criticism is, like any NBA team, when your best player goes down, you're in a lot of trouble. And the Warriors, when that player is Steph Curry, James Harden, what did he famously once say? I am the system. No. Steph Curry is, though. Steph Curry is the system. And without him, the system does not work. And I think there are two ways to look at the Warriors going forward. You can go glass half full if you want. You can say, look, Curry, had he been healthy, I think they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in this series. I think with a healthy Curry, the Golden State Warriors were in the Western Conference Finals. I have no big and bold predictions past that, by the way. But if you're in the conference finals, you, by definition, had a good year. Whether you want to be you win it all or you lose. If you want to go Ricky Bobby, your first, your last, if that's who you want to be, you go, my camera froze.
Oh, it's great. At least you're giving me like a high five, though, in it. So I'm gonna match you on that. I'm gonna match you on the high five.
What happened?
And I'm gonna ask, by the way, I'm gonna tell everyone, for those that think that only winning it all matters, Joel Embiid and the Sixers never made it past the second round of the playoffs. Never. They were never in a conference final. The Sixers never got to say they were the fourth best team in the NBA with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, who likes to call himself a Hall of Famer. That never happened. So had the Warriors done it? Yes. And of course, LeBron and the Lakers were in the Western Conference Finals 2 seasons ago, got swept by the Nuggets. Yes, it wasn't pretty, but they were there, and that was a significant season. Had the Warriors beaten the Timberwolves, that would have been an incredible accomplishment. And yes, of course, at this point, it looks like they would be facing, I don't want to count the Nuggets out of it, but if the fact that you would be facing Jokic coming off of a comeback against Oklahoma City, or this year's current MVP and the number one team in the West, I don't know that you could just chalk up another win in a series to put them in the finals.
Right. But you can glass half full it a little bit if you want to. And obviously we're going to wrap up soon here. My damn camera. I can't fix it. I'm trying. I'm not a big troubleshooter. I don't know what the hell just happened.
That's horrible, Dan. I hate it, but I love seeing you at least, and we're going to, half glass full on you being all in behind the black curtain here.
Thank you. Here, you know what we'll do? We'll entertain everybody with,
you can put, you can, I think you can choose something else. There you go. That's beautiful.
There you go. So
that's beautiful. I love that.
Wait a minute.
You're very well represented. Yeah, you're right. Here we go. Here, I can slide into this.
Wait, no. There we go.
There we go. There it is. I love that, Damon. Yeah, I feel like you're so well represented here.
I'm still here.
Okay, so give me this. I have one. I'm going to save my take on Curry until you give me yours. I am so excited when Steph Curry has a chance to win a championship. You and I discussed this. I want the path to Steph Curry as the greatest player of all time, next to Michael Jordan. I'll give Jordan number one. I love the idea that Steph could be considered the greatest of all time. And if he is to win another championship, that puts that conversation on the tip of people's tongues. And when he doesn't, we then go to this sort of era of recency and talk about whoever is in the moment winning as potentially the greatest. And I just don't think that's fair when you look at the totality of what Steph Curry's done in this league, the totality of his career, what he is in the record books, what he is to what Damon said as far as moving the entire game behind the 3-point line. Steph Curry sets the bar on what this team does from a shooting standpoint. And that should always be remembered. And Damon, you and I texted about this when we knew Steph was going to be out even one game. This solidifies Steph. When you talk about valuable players in this league, I'm not talking about what SGA did this season, which he's clearly the MVP. I'm talking about when you are looking at value. On the court is one thing. Off the court is another way to immediately say, wow.
It's pretty simple to see. With Steph Curry, the Warriors could have been in the Western Conference Finals. Without him, they're a fucking lottery team. Yeah, I mean, that's the difference that he makes to this franchise. Again, if you want a glass half full, you can. If you want a glass half empty, Steph is going to be 38 the next time it's the NBA playoffs. He just caught his first official old man injury.
Yeah, this was an ugly one.
36. He's been unhealthy the last two postseasons, and now for some reason he's afraid to shoot both open and contested layups. And Draymond is 36 years old, still can't control his emotions, and even though he had a good year, his tank was empty when it mattered the most. It really was. So they're not getting any younger. The promise of Giannis comes with a trade package that I think if another team tries to put a better one together, it'll be easier to put a better package together than the Warriors really can. The Warriors are kind of snookered. And again, if you needed that fifth title, I'm sorry that's what you needed, because I don't think you're going to get it. I don't. I think the Warriors stood on the stage longer than most really good teams ever get to. And the fact that it's still not enough for some people means that this franchise is so distorted. What you think is a normal NBA lifetime, you could thank him for that. You shouldn't be mad that it's over. I'm going to go full Vin Scully. Be happy that it happened at all. I mean, you really have to be.
I want to say this because it never comes up. Divisions in basketball. Nobody. I mean, if I quizzed you and me on this right now, we wouldn't know. They're all named after airlines. I think it was like there's a Southwest and a Northwest, and who gives a shit, right? The divisions in basketball mean nothing. But
right, I'm in JetBlue.
Exactly. But remember that the Warriors are in the same division as the Lakers, and I want you to go and read your children the history of what the Warriors have been, because there's essentially Rick Barry, and then there's 30 years of irrelevance.
Yeah.
And then there's what happened here.
Right. It's a picture from Philadelphia. Actually, it was from Hershey, Pennsylvania, where Wilt says, I scored 100.
Yes.
It's Rick Barry's granny free throws. It's 30 seconds of Run TMC, which was a better nickname than it was producing actual postseason results.
Then there's We Believe, right? Then there's We Believe for a second.
We Believe. That was fun because you never been to the mountaintop, so just getting to base camp was an awful lot of fun. And then you had what Steve Kerr rightfully said, this isn't the real NBA. Like, that's how good we are. That's how good. We have Kevin Durant now. This isn't the real NBA. We are living in fantasy land. He's like, I'm not this good of a coach. This is not supposed to happen. This cannot be duplicated. Other teams are going to want to try to copy what we just did. They won't be able to. This is extraordinary. Enjoy it while it lasts, because it ain't going to last forever. And Steve Kerr was right about that.
And go ahead and follow Kevin Durant's next two moves to find that out, because the Nets didn't just get Kevin Durant, right? The Nets surrounded him with what should have been a dynasty of their own and never made it to an NBA Finals. Never made it to a Western Conference or an Eastern Conference final, even because of the toe that he stepped on the line against the Bucks. So that was as close as they got. And we're talking about Harden and Kyrie and Durant and Ben Simmons for whatever was Ben Simmons back then. So it doesn't happen. You can't just put the players together. There's a little more to it. And the history, it's not like, look, it's not that the Warriors just won 4 championships. Think about the record-setting performances. The Warriors went 5 to win a championship in one of those. They set the record for regular season wins, surpassing the Bulls. This is so they've got the two greatest shooters in the history of the game This is so unprecedented. And again, I like to remind people, and this was all under the booze of Monte Ellis not being brought back. Okay. So I'm sorry. This is so impressive. Damon is back. This is such an impressive run. I want people to remember that, to understand it, and to appreciate it, to recognize that it may not ever happen again. We may not get another one, Damon, right? This is likely not going to be another championship run, but it is always a possibility. I also want to say two things. Number one, if Julius Randle is just eliminating your season, something has gone terribly wrong. I mean,
I got no Julius Randle jokes, dude. He balled. He straight up bullied Draymond all over the court. By the way, I had to go to my laptop cam.
Look at that's adorable. Well, okay? You still look beautiful.
Up my nose now.
True.
But I'm like, I feel like Radnich. Don't shoot me up. Shoot me down.
Yeah, shoot me down. Shoot me down. That's
when you shoot me up.
You want that angle. But again, what Julius Randle did, I texted you one thing during the game last night, which was nice defense. I mean, that was just there were just moments where Julius Randle looked like he was on the court with nobody else, and I just didn't understand that. It just from this team, because you would have thought that would have been right. Once Curry's out, Kerr is saying, "All right, we can. The one thing we can do, we can't shoot anymore the way we could, but we can stop this team defensively. We have been able to do this. We can do it again, and they simply could not. Wow, did Minnesota have an answer?"
Did you see that 1-3 that Randall uncorked from like 6 feet behind the line? And then they even cut to Steph Curry, and Steph was like giving the same, I can't believe he made it head shake that Curry himself has
fostered numerous times, of course.
Yeah. So
I was just stunned by that. And so my 2 points are this: Julius Randle, wow, but it also says, okay, this defensively just could not happen. And number two, I'm deferring to you on this. I will always have a special Jimmy Butler and what could have been in Philadelphia. So I always love to say what he did with Miami proved that if he had stayed, instead of that team committing to Tobias Harris, if that had been Jimmy Butler instead, I feel like the Sixers could have certainly done more than get out of the second round. Okay. So I have a special place in my heart for Jimmy, and the 2 runs with Miami were spectacular. Where do you stand right now? Jimmy Butler was handed the I am the best player on this team option. And can we we clearly can say it didn't happen.
There's never been a point in time when Jimmy's the best player on your team, you won it all. So but it's not going to happen now at his age. And look, he did get hurt. He absolutely had that, gluteal injury that I think prevented him from being who he is. It's not going to get any better at his age. And look, with Giannis out there, I'm trying to cobble a package together to get Giannis, and Jimmy's a part of that. It's Jimmy, Kuminga, Pajemski, and as many first-round picks as you fucking want. I mean, that never matters. That's what I would do. Here's the thing. Unless you're going to have the balls to trade Steph, you need to have the balls to mortgage every ounce of your future in the name of pursuing the 5th title that without the extreme measure ain't going to happen anyways.
No, he needs the help, and the Jimmy help was there. I mean, look, this team was significantly better after that trade. Jimmy Butler and the Warriors could have, like you said, we're talking about a team that's not in the Western Conference Finals, but damn near there. If you plug Steph, you have to say there's at least 2 other wins in this series with Steph. You can say that because the game you got, it was a game 4. Jimmy's best game was, I think, game 4, right? If Steph's there, that game's a win, no matter what. No matter what you want to tell me, that was a win. There was still a path to winning this series without Steph. So you got to say that with him, there was a path to that. And it's just, it is devastating in some ways to see that you're 1-0. You're 1-0 in this series, and Steph's injured, and you're still feeling like, oh, well, maybe he'll just miss a couple of games. Okay, he's going to miss 3, but we'll be okay. And then we don't see him again, and it ends. God, that sucked.
It was rough. It was really rough. And look, there were a lot of guys in that game last night who played their final game in a Warriors uniform, and they don't even know it yet. But it's time for Gary Payton II to go. Moses Moody, I'm sorry. You played yourself out of the franchise. Kevon Looney, thanks for the memories. You're part of the statue, but it's gone. Guy Santos, sorry. Great story. Need to do better. Pat Spencer, get the fuck out of here. You're a G leaguer at best. Go back to lacrosse. Good luck with it. I mean, it's time for the Warriors to have more NBA players on their NBA team. It's just that simple. By the way, Iceman 0072 says, Late to the stream, but have you heard about the Raiders movie? Nick Cage as Madden and Christian Bale as Al Davis. I saw a picture.
Photos outstanding.
Hollywood makeup is incredible. It's incredible. When you told me that Nick Cage was going to play John Madden, I'm like, ugh. But then you see it, and you're like, oh my God, he can pull this off. And then, Bale, who can disappear into any character he plays. God,
so good.
Yeah, he looks an awful lot like Al Davis. We'll see what this movie actually does or looks like. It'll be interesting. By the way, speaking of Raiders, Derek Carr. How are you going to remember that career?
Okay, real quick, I will remember it. It was against the Colts, I believe.
2016.
2016, yeah. So it is that season that I will always say, I know Derek Carr had it.
That was Carr's best year. That was Del Rio's best year.
Del Rio, and that team would have won a playoff game. I think they had to go with Matt McGloin in that game in the end. Because they lost a backup as well. It was an awful game. I believe it was Texans. Both of them were playing backup quarterbacks in that game. Terrible playoff game. Yes.
Connor Cook started that game, I believe.
Yeah, because McGloin couldn't, I believe. So that I will always remember that Derek Carr was this potential for a lightning force leader in this league. He could do it. He could bring men together. They won games they shouldn't have that season. That was an awesome offense. And I saw something. And in a way, it just never happened after that. I just never saw it in that way with him after that. And so I just couldn't, I love him. I love Derek Carr. I think he is he's the right kind of leader for this league. Obviously what his brother came in for the Texans, and it was just, he was sacked too many times. And then everyone thought Derek was going to go through the same thing. And instead, and it's not, look, the Raiders, to get Derek Carr, they were a terrible franchise. They got him. I remember the first win they had in a terrible season, they actually beat the Chiefs. They were beating the Chiefs. It was that first Derek Carr win in this league, I believe, if I remember correctly. I thought Derek Carr could do it. And when the Saints started 2-0 last season, I thought, wow, here's that chance again. Maybe he is surrounded by the right coaching staff. Kamara is going to have this kind of season. You've got Olave there. Maybe there's enough. And of course, we saw in the end, through the grind of an NFL season, it wasn't to the point where he's now retired. I was stunned to see the retirement. I thought the shoulder injury was being over-reported to sort of save him so that he could come in and they could really feel excited about him being the starter. I thought
Bobby Boucher showed up at halftime and the Bulldog.
It's still possible, right? It's still, anything is possible. Anything is possible. So yes, Derek Carr, congrats on what was a great career. And there will be people, I know you and I both love Larry Krueger. I know Krueger thought that Carr never delivered on what he should have been. And I guess the one I would say that shocked me, what I was stunned at and really disappointed in, I thought Devontae Adams and Derek Carr rekindling potentially what happened at Fresno State, to be there for the Raiders, to resurrect that offense. The fact that fell off a cliff, I never understood that. Yeah. What happened there? How is that not more magical? I never understood that.
By the way, I had Leslie says, I believe it was Damon who said Derek was crying on the turf. The time when he got caught crying on the turf, is not when he broke his ankle.
Okay. Yeah.
There's two different videos there. There was two different
Good
moments
clarification.
in his career. Yes, broken ankles suck. I just rolled my ankle the other day and I'm gimping around my entire house here. There you go, Sammy. I want to just let everyone know that it's always a pleasure to do this with you.
So
and
beautiful.
There's one last thing for us to do before we go, and that is to learn a little about our history.
And David, after you go through this, save 90 seconds for us to just say something about Pete Rose, because it's got a Barry Bonds connection to it.
No. Let's do that first.
Okay.
Let's do that first, because we end with history. By the way, I just want to say, for the record, I predicted this Pete Rose thing more accurately than anybody on the planet. What I said should happen, I think is about to happen, unless the writers are like, nah, you know what? Fuck it. We're not letting him in still. And I'm going to tell you, the Veterans Committee, the older guys, are crustier than anybody. So he might still not get in. Pete Rose, I believe, deserved to serve his lifetime ban. And now that his lifetime is over, I wouldn't have a problem with him being reinstated. He did not deserve the Hall of Fame speech, the Hall of Fame bow, the windfall, the attention that came with it, because this guy lied to everyone staring in their eye for over 2 decades. He tried to besmirch the work of people who did the work, saying that they're the ones against me. No, what happened was you got caught red-handed, and then you lied about it for the better part of 20 years. And right when you were wiped off the page due to we are now more obsessed with steroid scandals and old men don't play like they used to and no one gives a shit anymore, he's like, I'm going to write a book where I admit to it and charge you $19.99 to hear my confession. You fucking douchebag. You don't deserve another minute in the spotlight. But your career as a player does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he was caught Reds-handed. I just wanted to get that part of the post. But yes, okay. Pete Rose, you said it, deserves it based on what he did on the field. Yes. I'm going to steal. My cousin Jack has a theory on this, and it's akin to college football, and I know you'll appreciate this. College football, when the BCS was choosing 2 teams to go into the national championship, was in the conversation every week for the outrage behind it, right? Mm-hmm. Pete Rose, if he is elected eventually into the Hall of Fame, the conversation is done with him, and he drops into the spotlight. He was almost a standalone, recurring conversation, debate, constantly on our minds. For sports radio, we know we've all gotten hundreds of shows out of Pete Rose, but Pete Rose stood alone on an island, being outside of the Hall of Fame, and being in it, which he will be, is going to quiet that conversation forever.
Right. Can't debate black and white, but gray, we can have that conversation forever.
Exactly. So he'll be in, and that'll be sort of the end of it. I also think because of sports gambling being legal in the amount of states that it is, over time, there will be people that cannot believe that Pete Rose was ever slapped on the wrist about gambling on sports. It's just going to be hard, right? Telling people that alcohol is bad or illegal. It's one of those things that's hard for people to get their head around if they've never lived a life in which this thing was illegal. So that will happen also. And this. Please read the comments of Giamatti's son, who is so upset that Pete is going to go in now. It's really awesome how he holds on to what his dad Bart Giamatti did in banning Pete. I sort of love the curmudgeon-y old man philosophy on this. And if you just want to, however you stand on Pete Rose, read the comments.
Got to be a 60-year-old man now, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So please read that. And also, Damon, from a Bay Area standpoint, we need to bring up Barry Bonds, because there was a great column written about how this will not change. So in other words, this committee says that once you're dead, you can now be you're no longer on the permanently banned list. There's a lifetime ban. So your life ends. You're no longer.
Shoeless Joe got pulled off of it too.
Exactly. But remember this, Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, they're actually not on the banned list for the Hall of Fame. They are getting not voted on. These people are holding grudges based on what they think they know about the performance enhancing drugs, which, by the way, I'm fine with that. But let me say this. As much as you don't want to connect these two and say that Pete Rose is off because he was on this permanently banned list and now he's not, he's going to be in, I guarantee you this. Pete Rose going in will soften the way people think about the guys I just said, Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, etc., McGuire. For 2 guys, Bonds and McGuire, they're going to be in the Hall of Fame. Mark my word, Bonds and McGuire are going to be in. This is the Jenga piece pulled out. And now people will start to say what I saw you do with a bat in your hand deserves you being in the Hall of Fame, period. It applies to Pete and it applies to Bonds and McGuire, period.
I think it's going to just take a generation of crusty old cusses to die off from the voting electorate. Again, what today's illegal steroid is tomorrow's Flintstone chewable vitamin.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm not even going to say anything after that. That's what happens with time.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see what happens. What I would love to do is see the Giants sign Barry Bonds and give him let Barry Bonds DH for a week. Let's start that Major League Hall of Fame clock again.
He would do it. By the way, he would do it.
Maybe.
I hit my elbow the other day, by the way, and I realized I needed that Bonds protective. That thing was that like transformer plastic piece that he had on his arm. I actually need one of those now. So I'd love to see him up there again with it.
He had a Sherman tank on his freaking. Why is he standing on top of home plate? Well, he's wearing Kevlar.
I mean, you could hit him. You could hit him anywhere. He's not going to feel it.
Speaking of greatness, today in history, two of the greatest football players of our lifetime share the same birthday. Born today, happy birthday. Get him a big bottle of deer antler spray. Happy birthday to Ray Lewis, 50 years old. Ray Lewis is as old as I am, finally.
Yeah. I worked with Ray for a little bit at Fox, Damon.
Mm-hmm.
What a tremendous person to be around. I mean, really, he would light up a room in the ways that you think he could. I know there's a lot of people sort of have this like fear in their soul about what Ray Lewis could bring. A tremendous person to be around. I enjoyed every second I spent around Ray Lewis because I felt like it sort of made me less fearful of anything in my life. Like with Ray around you, you felt invincible. I will say that.
You're walking down a dark alley. Who would you like with you, guys?
That's Ray.
That's the guy.
Ray.
And this is look, a legit question. Didn't he murder someone?
Guess what? That's part of why he's the answer to that question for me.
Right. Here's the thing. I'm guessing the guy had it coming. Okay?
Don't piss the wrong person off. Raise the wrong person.
I don't have a problem with Ray Lewis as long as there are no utensils. Happy birthday, Emmitt Smith, 56 years old. As we sit around discussing the greatest running backs of all time, we could talk about it for 15 minutes and not bring up his name. We wouldn't.
And by the way,
his name. And he's the all-time leading rusher.
There's an argument that JT had, JT the Brick, who we love here dearly. JT the Brick got into a little Twitter beef with people talking about the Mount Rushmore of running backs, and JT will die on a hill regarding Emmitt Smith. And I like that. I like that he is reminding everyone that Emmitt holds that record.
Well, the greatest Emmitt Smith game ever is when he ran for like 200 in New York with a dislocated shoulder in the playoffs.
It's not bad to have on your ledger, isn't it?
Yeah. Dude, Emmitt Smith was badass.
Oh,
I would also say that had Barry Sanders had that offensive line, he would have run for 1 billion yards.
Without question. And life is all about timing. And, I mean, how many quarterbacks that we say if they got drafted by other organizations they would no longer be considered draft busts, period.
Right. Today in 1800, bad day for Philadelphia. President John Adams ordered the new U.S. federal government to leave Philadelphia and move to Washington, D.C. Today in 1800, Philadelphia ceased being our nation's capital. They're still angry about that in Philadelphia.
Not enough is made of any time. By the way, so Bryce Harper would probably be the greatest linchpin from a sports standpoint of someone who, like sort of shared by both cities from a superstar status. And there's just not enough made from a rivalry standpoint of that point. And I think it is the job of those that are producing those games to bring that out as well. I love that for a note in history because it's true. People that are sort of from or share Philadelphia in their lives, they know it and they talk about sort of the birthplace of America. But DC is that center. When you think about elections and you think about what this country is doing, it's DC. It has nothing to do with Philadelphia. And it could have been.
Today in 1928, Mickey Mouse premiered in his first silent cartoon. It was called Plain Crazy. But just a few months later, they would release Steamboat Willie with sound. So this kind of became a forgotten event. But the very first Mickey Mouse cartoon ever, today, 1928, I got to ask you, Sam, is he old enough yet? Have you brought Levi to Disney?
My question to you was going to be, when did Jack and Ozzie hit that moment? When did it become that Mickey Mouse was a part of their vocabulary? I will say, for anyone who hasn't done it, bringing your child to Disneyland, if your child has read even a story about any of these characters, to watch a child react to someone in a fucking plush suit is so I think it defines parenthood for me. I really do. The idea that I could now see that park from that lens was something I was not counting on at all. That was a celebrity. Whoever had that Mickey or Goofy or Pluto or Minnie head on was absolutely Michael Jordan to my son Levi. There was nothing like it.
I think Disney is a very, very special place. As a grown man, I ran up to and hugged Goofy when I saw him at Disneyland. So my kids, neither of them are I think, old enough to go. We need another summer, I think, before Jack's big enough to go on rides or Ozzy is really ready to get it. But you being down in Southern California, I would imagine that Disney pull
it's there
is louder on you than it is on me up here. I'll say this. When we go to Disney Plus, it used to be a lot of Mickey Mouse, Funhouse, and all that stuff. Since then, Bluey has taken over.
We'll have let's save our Bluey segment for maybe next week. We need to discuss how that show is just perfect for so many reasons that I want to dissect why.
It's outstanding.
It's
outstanding. Bluey is the modern Mr. Rogers, where Mr. Rogers always was the perfect person to impart wisdom and behavior on your child. Bluey not only works from a, hey, kids, this is how you're supposed to do, but it works from a, hey, parents, this is how you're supposed to do it. There's real love. There's real love in that family.
And there's just emotion. And what they do in the amount of time that they spend with each episode is, I'm like, these are the writers that everyone should be stealing. Whatever those writers have tapped into is beyond anything I see in any bullshit hour-long drama I'm watching currently.
Today in 1935, Albert Einstein was awarded the Benjamin Franklin Medal for his outstanding fundamental contributions to theoretical physics, especially his relativity theory, and it happened at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. So there you go. So a bad day for Philadelphia earlier in Today in History, a good day for Philadelphia here today. Today in 1940, ladies' nylon stockings got sold for the very first time. All your leggings come from that moment. Happy birthday, stockings. 1940. How about this? In 1940, Richard and Maurice McDonald opened their first ever hamburger stand in San Bernardino, California. You would get to know this place. This was the very first McDonald's. Ray Kroc would come in, buy it, and change the arc of all that, and actually screw these two guys over tremendously.
Could you imagine, by the way, a time in your life? Now, I don't know where you stand on McDonald's currently. I know that
I don't eat it anymore. No fast food post-stroke for Damon.
So by the way, so for me, with Levi, just not an option, right? Like we want to just set certain parameters. We're not going to, eventually he will have it and he'll be around friends and that will certainly go down. But imagine that at one point McDonald's had to be such a delicious hamburger that led to this. Like right now we consider the hamburger that is there, it's 10th on any list you have about hamburgers. But imagine that to become what it did, that hamburger at one time was so beyond delicious of anything else around it that it became what it is now today.
The Founder is a movie starring Michael Keaton. And he's Ray Kroc. He's the guy who goes in. If you haven't seen The Founder, it's awesome. It's a great, great movie. And who's the kid in The Office who played the intern?
Oh, God, okay.
He was also in Inglourious Bastards.
Yes.
There. He's
I'm getting this up for us.
What's that guy's name? Anyways, he plays a lawyer who just changes the arc of McDonald's forever. And he's sitting there talking to Ray Kroc, and he's like, what business are you in?
It's Nick Offerman, right?
No. Nick Offerman was the guy who played Parks and Rec.
Right. Okay. Right. Oh, is it BJ Novak?
BJ Novak.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's it. Yeah. There you go.
By the way, I ran into him one night at in North Beach. And I didn't go up to big deal or anything. We're at the bar. We're both waiting for a drink, and he's right there. And I'm like, "Hey, man, like your work." He was like, "Thanks." And I left him alone. It's
super cool.
Yeah, it's the way to do it. Anyways, he's like, "What business are you in?" And he's like, "Well, I'm in the fast food business. I'm in the hamburger business." He's like, "No, you're not. You're in the real estate business.
Amazing.
You're in the real estate business. That's the business you're in. You own more real estate than just about anybody else in America. And that's what McDonald's has become." Anyway, so really good movie. Check it out. Happy birthday, McDonald's. Poor Richard and Maurice got totally fucked. We used Run TMC. We invoked Run TMC earlier in the show. Well, today, and we normally do not do record releases, number one songs, or all, because I'll get lost in this. I want today in history to be historical, but I will argue that if we're talking about the evolution of music, you can find a lot of evolutionary steps. One of the easiest to identify is Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles.
Wow.
Sgt. Pepper's changed it. There's everything that ever happened before Sgt. Pepper's, and then there is what happened after, and it changed music forever. Marketing, albums, concept albums, it changed everything. So did Raising Hell. Today, in 1986, Run DMC released Raising Hell. And if you want to talk about the single, what is the most important music, or the most important rap song of all time, it's Walk This Way by Run DMC and Aerosmith. That changed music forever. Forever. I'm not saying it's the best, but
but it brought
moment.
It brought people together in a way that you never could have believed from a musical standpoint. But I remember what a boombox was. To have a boombox as a kid was on that level for me because of what Run DMC
absolutely
became as a cultural phenomenon. I was so locked in. There was nothing at that time in my life that Run DMC wasn't the answer for.
And the album just Peter Piper picked peppers, but Run Rock rhymes. Humpty Dumpty fell down. Oh, come on. It's just Peter Piper, My Adidas, It's Tricky, You Be Illin', and Walk This Way. All period. On Raising Hell. I don't know. I look at it this way. My first albums, it's a little blurry. It might have been it might have been Hall & Oates, Private Eyes.
Okay. Oh wow, I like that.
I don't know, this is this is like a cassette tape.
Sure.
Without a doubt, my first rap anything was Run DMC Raising Hell.
Yes.
And then I remember the very first time I popped in straight out of Compton, I'm like, oh, things have changed.
Okay. That's another level.
Well, it's the very first time music ever scared me, and that's what made it intoxicating. And it was awesome. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to hide this from my parents. And that's where, the NWA magic was happening. Anyway, final moment of today in history. It wasn't anything that I really watched. I can say I watched 4 years of this show only because it was so omnipresent in my college years. I didn't watch it previous and I didn't watch it post. But I cannot deny the show Friends was a freaking monster. And today in 2001, you want to talk about does not age well? I don't think there's anything but black coffee in Friends. That's the only black you'll see is the coffee in that coffee house. Anyways, Friends, its final episode, which was called The One with Monica and Chandler's Wedding, aired today on NBC. And it was just yesterday, I think we celebrated the final episode of Seinfeld, which is the biggest swing and a miss in great episodic TV history.
Yeah, and for Friends, what's going to strike me forever with Friends, I mean, first of all, it's sort of the arc of what Jennifer Aniston is in our lives. Sort of the sex symbol of what Jennifer Aniston was. Thank you, Friends, for that. Because there was a time when she was sort of untouchable. She was a one seed for quite some time in any bracket.
There's not a lot of women's hairdos that I can identify. There's the Beehive, there's Pigtails, there's the Rachel.
There's the Rachel. And
every other girl had the Rachel when I was in college.
That was it. I mean, that definitely defined what it was to be just outstanding, sexy, etc. At that time. And the other thing that'll stand out, the idea that Matthew Perry is so burned into my mind as that character, and the idea that he is gone and the way in which he is gone, those two things are just incongruent to me. I just cannot get out of my mind, right? For anyone in the world that didn't know him personally, he's obviously that character from that show. And for him to go down and out the way that he did, it just will never line up for me. And he will live forever in the vacuum of that show and in the reruns of that show. The idea that he is gone from this world is just almost too hard for me to comprehend.
It's right. It's tough. So did you watch the show a lot? I mean, were you
I not even that much. I was just like you. I'm like you. It was there and impossible to avoid, but I was not setting my alarm to it.
right? It was a big. It was a big deal. The only thing, there's only one good thing for celebrities when they die young. They never get old.
Never.
James Dean will forever be 23 years old leaning on that red car. Forever. He never gets old. He never gets the fat Elvis phase of his life. So
True.
There you go. There's the positive of dying young. And as Def Leppard so famously said, it's better to burn out than fade away. Michelle Haberman, I absolutely rocked the Rachel.
Thank you for that.
Right underneath him. I used to Rachel out. I used the Rachel cut. Yeah, it was big, man. It was big. Absolutely. The show was big. Every single Thursday with Sammy is a big one. Thank you very much. As always, again, thank you to Ike's. Thank you to the Dubliner. Thank you to Campsite Tonight. Download that app. Drink at Dubliner West Portal. Eat at Ike's. Status Hamantasha. I don't care. You get a little plum, little apricot. What is it? With a little jelly in the middle?
You can get a raspberry. You can get a chocolate once in a while, which is really outstanding as well. But those are so great. Thanks to Aunt Marlene and Statha's Kitchen for getting us those Statha's Hamantash.
There you go. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. Make sure you do it on both channels. Thinking Out Loud with Andrew and Sam. And you know what? How about in the next Thursday or two, we get Siciliano to come along for the ride?
We're going to do it. Yeah, he is. He is. I'm going to hit him up. That's going to happen for sure.
Ask him about how many Shador Sanders jerseys he's already got.
Let me tell you something that is great. I heard someone say last night, Shador week 1 starter. I think it was Maurice Jones-Drew on the NFL Network schedule release show, but wow.
Look at it this way. Why'd you draft the guy in front of him? If that happens, that's fine. But then what are you going to do with the guy that you
Dylan Gabriel. Yeah.
Why? That was just... again, I know that some people want to be like, well, it's actually happened before, and to bad teams. It was the Redskins that did that, and that they won nothing. So okay, there you go. So look at it this way. Maybe Andrew's not going to want to come on with us, but I hope we'll be better with that. I will get my actual camera working before the show as well. And all I can say is thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe all the way around. And remember, as always, that sports don't build character, they reveal it. And like that, there goes.